वेलकम टू टुडेज क्लास। आज का टॉपिक है स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ माइक्रोस्पोर। स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ माइक्रोस्पोर और माइक्रोस्पोर इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज पोलन ग्रेन। Microspore is also called as pollen grain. So we will discuss microspore or pollen grain. Microspore or pollen grain. Anther. This is stem. Stamen has three parts. Anther. This is connective. This is connective, and this is filament. So inside the anther, pollen mother cell is present. Inside the anther, pollen mother cell is present. This pollen mother cell is also called as microspore mother cell. It is also called as microspore mother cell. Microspore mother cell is diploid. Means chromosomes are present in pair. So microspore mother cell undergo meiosis, and 4 pollen grains are formed from one microspore, and this is called as pollen tetrad. This is called as pollen tetrad. Pollen tetrad means pollen grains are in group of 4, hence it is called as pollen tetrad. In this group 4 pollen grains are present, hence it is called as pollen tetrad. And this process is called as microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis. It is very important process. Microsporogenesis definition is very simple. Formation of pollen grain from microspore mother cell is called as microsporogenesis. Formation of pollen grains from microspore mother cell is called as microsporogenesis. So our topic is structure of pollen grain or structure of microspore. First of all, we will draw a diagram of pollen grain. So here we will draw the diagram of pollen grain. This is diagram of pollen grain. Each pollen grain is spherical. It is spherical in shape. It is bounded by double layer wall. See, it is very simple diagram of pollen grain. Inside, this is cytoplasm and this is nucleus. Centrally placed nucleus. So this is very simple diagram of pollen grain, and we will discuss points one by one. Pollen grain or microspore is haploid. Haploid means have single set of chromosome. It is haploid, microscopic. Haploid, microscopic. It is spherical in shape. It is bounded by double layered wall. It is bounded by double layered wall called sporoderm. Double layered wall of pollen grain is called as sporoderm. So outer layer of this wall, outer layer is called exine, and inner layer is called intine. Outer layer is called as exine, and inner layer is called as intine. So we will label this diagram. So this is outer This is outer wall. This is called as exine. This is exine, and this is inner wall, and this is called as intine. And these two collectively called as sporoderm. These two layers collectively called as sporoderm. Sporoderm. So wall of pollen grain is called as sporoderm, which is made up of two layers. Outer layer is called as exine and inner layer is called as intine. Next point. So please write down all these points. You can pause the video. Next point, exine. Next point is about exine. Exine is thick. Exine is always thick. Thick and made up of, and it is made up of, exine is made up of non-biodegradable chemical, non-biodegradable called sporopollenin, This point is very important. This is sporoderm, that is the wall of pollen grain. It is made up of two layers. Outer layer is called as exine. This exine is very thick. Exine is thick, and exine is made up of non-biodegradable chemical, and that non-biodegradable chemical is called as sporopollenin. Sporopollenin is chemical resistant layer. So sporopollenin is chemical resistant layer, and it increases shelf life of pollen grain. Sporopollenin is chemical resistant or resistant to chemical. Resistant to chemicals. Next point. Exine is interrupt at some places. Here exine is interrupt. Here exine is interrupt, and here exine is interrupt. Exine is interrupt at some places and have small pores at that places, and that pores are called as germ pores. So exine is interrupt at some places called germ pore. So the structure is called as germ pore. So this is called as germ pore. So this is germ pore. Function of germ pore. You can write this point in very easy language. So exine had small pores, and that small pores are called as germ pores. Function of germ pore. Germ pore, during germination of pollen grain, pollen tube comes out through germ pore. So during germination of pollen grain, pollen tube comes out through germ pore. So this point, we will discuss this point with the help of diagram. Germination of pollen grain. So when this pollen grain become mature, and when this pollen grain, so this is a nucleus of pollen grain, intine, and this is exine of pollen grain. When this pollen grain deposited on receptive stigma of a flower, if this is the stigma of flower, this pollen grain absorb moisture and nutrients from stigma of a flower, and then internal volume of pollen grain pollen grain deposited on stigma. It has two cells. Small cell is called as tube cell and large. This is tube cell. Larger cell is called as tube cell and smaller cell is called as generative cell. So when this pollen grain deposited on stigma, it absorbs nutrients, water from the stigma, and it swell and exert pressure on intine, and then due to that pressure, intine comes out through germ pore, comes out through germ pores, comes out through germ pore, and then this is tube nucleus and this is generative cell also enter inside the pollen tube, and this structure is called as pollen tube. This structure is called as pollen tube. So what is the function of germ pore? Function of germ pore is at the time of germination of pollen grain, pollen tube comes out through germ pore, and this process is called as germination of pollen grain. Next point, this exine may be spiny, or smooth, spiny or smooth. So this is pollen grain. This is another pollen grain, and this is exine, which is thick. This is exine of pollen grain, and this is also exine of this pollen grain. Nucleus. See, in first case, exine is smooth, but in the second case, exine is spiny, like this. These are spines which are present on the exine. Such type of pollen grains, that is smooth-walled pollen grains, found in wind pollinated plants. But spiny pollen grains are present in insect pollinated plants, bird pollinated plants. So exine may be spiny or exine may be smooth. So exine is spiny in insect pollinated plants in wind, and it is smooth walled in wind pollinated plants or wind pollinated flowers. Next point is about intine. It is inner layer of sporoderm. It is thin. Intine is always thin. Intine is thin, and it is made up of cellulose. Cellulose is starch. Cellulose and chitin. It is made up of cellulose and chitin. And this is nucleus. So this part is nucleus. This is nucleus, and this is cytoplasm. This question will be asked for 2 marks. Structure of pollen grain. It can be asked for 2. So in this way we have completed structure of pollen grain.